curious, are you able to do any install, kind of what you're having to do virtually right now? And kind of the second part of that question, what are the biggest thing rookies are missing right now by not having your hands on them, so to speak?
Yeah, Scott, we've been installing every day, trying to kind of break it down into 12-day install offensively and defensively, something very similar. But yeah, we'll go through it, use that hour to install and talk through, position-specific things that we want to get accomplished. Obviously, we like to apply it to the field, but you're not able to. But being in year two, that has been a lot smoother. Everything's familiar to these guys the second time around, and I think that's helped. Rookies, that's what you feel like they're missing out on is reps, first and foremost. When the vets get back or when they are around the vets, they're obviously not going to get as many. And so those rookie minicamp reps are really invaluable. And it's tough for them to not have those, but these guys just got to work really hard at the mental part of it and obviously study their playbooks relentlessly to be prepared for their opportunities.
Kliff, kind of picking back on that with the rookies, do you personally have to manage your expectations about what you can get from those guys early in the season, since you really might not know what you have until camp?
We all do, I believe, as a coaching staff. When you look at the opportunities they're going to get, it's not going to be what it would have been rep-wise, because guess what? Our vets haven't played football in a year as well. Whenever we get our hands on them, it's going to be a longer time than we had anticipated. So they're going to need the work as well. And so, yeah, I think we have to understand things are going to be moving really quickly for these guys when we do get to work with them. And we probably do need to anticipate, guys maybe not being as prepared as they have been in the past.
Hey, Kliff, you mentioned like taking an hour for the install. Could you talk a little bit about how these mornings are broken down? So do you guys have like a whole group and then they go to positions? How exactly does that a virtual meeting break down for these guys?
Yeah, we'll have team meetings mixed in and then special teams meetings and then their position meetings. As we go along, we'll continue to change things up and have different positions meet with other positions and just try to keep it fresh for these guys. But we try to be as efficient as we can with their time, understanding it's a unique period. A lot of these guys have families and keeping their families safe and healthy and taking care of those people are first and foremost.
Okay, looks like Craig Fouye and Josh Weinfuss and Darren Urban are our next three.
Hey, thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time this morning. When you looked at the schedule, you saw it obviously last Thursday like we did. Going into your second season now, does this make it a little bit easier to game plan as you look at things? You got some new opponents this year. How does that all shake out for you?
It's always challenging. Anytime you look at it, you're like, there's some really good teams on there. I mean, that's the NFL, and that's why people love it. But with us, it starts week one. Obviously, we're trying to take it 1 week at a time. I know that sounds cliche, but when you look and it's the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers on the road, that obviously gets your attention.
Hey, Kliff, how much have you had a chance to talk to Kyler, and what kind of contact has that been with you and him through the last few weeks? And then how prepared is he, or I guess what has he shown over the last few weeks of meetings for how advanced he is compared to last year?
I try to talk to him at least once a week, if not more, and he's doing great. When you watch the installs with him and you watch plays from last year and you just notice how far he's come from training camp on, there's definitely a different level of confidence, a different level of command of the offense, and he feels it. Even though we haven't been able to get out on the grass, he definitely feels a lot more comfortable heading into year two, and so I'm excited to finally get my hands on him whenever we can.
We know what you guys like physically of Isaiah Simmons. I'm curious about his mental acuity in terms of how you evaluated him, and how might that help him? I mean, on one hand, we're talking about having to absorb all these different things that he might want to do on the field. On the other hand, there might be less time for him on the field to learn this stuff. Kind of how you feel like that might work out for him.
That was definitely a big part of the fascination with him was his ability to learn all those different positions and execute them in college at a high level. And then, our thought process as if he is able to really focus on one position, having the flexibility to still move around, but really focus on one. I mean, what does that look like? And the sky could really be the limit. And that's why we were so excited about the athleticism's through the roof, but his ability to play so many positions and not really having a chance to focus on one. We just think the sky can be the limit for what he can be if we really lock him in one position for a majority of the time.
Next, please, David Brandt, Scott Bordeaux, Jess Root.
Hey, Kliff, I know a lot of, quarterbacks during the offseason at some point, will fly their receivers out and kind of build that rapport and everything. And especially with Hopkins coming in, how do you think they're going to build that rapport, especially since Kyler's not necessarily the most chatty person in the world? Like, do you think that's going to be a difficult transition, or how have you given him advice to handle getting with his receivers? And is he still going to try to do that this summer?
He definitely will. We're all kind of on the wait and see plan right now, but I know they're all chomping at the bit to get together and start working together. Unfortunately, they can't be with us there for the time being. But yeah, I'm not sure on the timetable. I know he's talked about figuring out a time to get all those guys together, and I'm sure they'll get that figured out down the road.
Kliff, Michael Bidwell's already mentioned that you guys might stay back east between the Carolina and the Jets games. You haven't gone through anything like that as a head coach. Just what are your initial thoughts about staying back there for a week as opposed to coming back here?
That's the plan. Obviously, a lot of things are up in the air, and we don't know how it'll play out. But I like the thought of it. I think you get adjusted well. Staying out there changes up the season, brings some freshness to maybe what's been a grind for a while. And so I'm open to it, and it sounds like they've really liked it in the past.
Hey, Kliff, you've talked about, you guys obviously are having to adjust. It's got to be a big adjustment for the players. What sort of feedback have you gotten from the players in terms of how they've been dealing with this? Have they been receptive to the virtual? Are there players who want to get on the field? What's been the feedback from them?
A little bit of everything, but they've definitely been receptive to talking football again. I think first and foremost, it's been a reprieve for them to just try to bring some normalcy back and talk football and see their friends and their teammates. And so that's been really positive. We all want to get back to the field, but we understand it's a unique time and we're all having to make adjustments.
Next, we'll go Odegaard, Tudrick, Signs. Richard Signs.
Kliff, is there any correlation between having the 3 second-year receivers and not drafting one? I mean, is that a vote of confidence in a way for those 3 young guys?
Definitely. We liked a lot of the receivers in the draft, but we also liked the guys that we took last year. We like how they progressed. It was tough getting on the field because we had some guys who were playing really well, but we're excited to see how they take that next step in year 2. And so I would say that definitely had a lot to do with how the draft went.
Hey, Coach, thank you for your time. I'm just curious on your side of things if you've heard any type of projected timetable of when meetings will go back to being in person, or is it still up in the air?
I have not. This end of this week, I'm anticipating we'll get some guidelines, but until then, I have not heard anything new.
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to ask you about that Cowboy game. Obviously a primetime game, Monday night game. And considering, you're from Texas, Kyler's from Texas, just what that excitement level is going to be like, with you guys growing up there and knowing what that Cowboy fan base is like.
Kyler will be fired up, that's for sure. I mean, he's won some state championships there, and I don't know if he's ever lost in that building. So I know he'll be really excited, whether it was a Texas State high school championship or a Big 12 championship. And so hopefully he'll bring some more of that mojo into that stadium. But anytime you get to play in that stadium, Dallas Cowboys, Monday night, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Looks like we've got Weinfuss, Balzer, Cox, please.
Hey, Kliff, back to Kyler. Where would he have needed all this time the most, the OTAs, the minicamp? And where do you think he's going to make the most jump from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, Josh, I think just more than anything, it's being around his teammates and doing all those things off the field that you want to see the face of your franchise, the leadership and the work ethic and the study habits and all those things that you can really learn after year 1 that you have to do to be an elite player. And I think the biggest steps he's going to take outside of that is just decision making. Everything was happening really fast for him at times last year. second year in the system, very familiar with his O-line, his running back now, his receivers. I just feel like some of those negative plays we were taking early in the season are going to be erased, and it's really going to help us as an offense.
A couple of things, Kliff, on what you talked about. One, efficiency. You were talking about with the meetings. How is it for you trying to get to different ones, and how do you kind of budget your time? And then on the young receivers, the health status, and what's your hope for Hakeem Butler?
Yeah, it's you kind of pick and choose which meetings you want to jump into. I'm with the quarterbacks a lot of the time outside of the team meetings, and then I'll call different position groups just to check in and see how they're doing. Hakeem, tons of ability. He's healthy. He's been working hard this offseason. He knows what we expect of him and what we think he can be, and I'm really excited when we can finally get him back on the field.
Hey, Kliff, I don't know if you saw this the other day, but Chandler Jones went back and finished his degree. Just what does that say about him as a person, and how important is it for guys to go back and do that at some point in their career if they're not able to do it before they get drafted?
Chandler just continues to amaze, really. I mean, you look at the production on the field, all-decade team, most sacks since I think he's come into the league. The leadership he brings, always positive. What he's done in the community. I saw the 150,000 meals through New York and here, and that's just who he is. I mean, day in, day out, you look at that guy, he's smiling, he's excited to be there, he's working his tail off, and I think it was something that was near and dear to his heart and his family's for him to get his degree, and so couldn't be more excited for him.
All right, let's take four more. Omar Ruiz, Craig Fouie, Scott Bordeaux, and Kent Summers.
Hey, Kliff, good morning.
Good morning.
Are the meetings just strictly X's and O's? I mean, is there any way you can do any team building or chemistry type stuff, or is that just a casualty of all this? And do you have any guest speakers or anything like that planned?
We haven't had too much of that yet. I mean, I think once we get these guidelines, hopefully the end of this week, where this thing's going, we have a plan, and that's kind of built into the second part of this. But yeah, we want those coaches and players to be light, particularly with the new guys coming in. The rookies joined today, making those guys feel welcome, and hey, let's develop some rapport and some culture throughout these meetings.
When you think about getting back, and you don't know yet what the guidelines are, but what's the first thing you need to do when you get these guys back together, get them on the field?
With the rookies, just making sure they know where to line up. That's one hesitation about the Zoom meetings is everybody's going to say nod and say, yes, sir, I got it. And when you get out there, sometimes they don't got it. But with the entire team, just the chemistry, the rapport, get guys around each other. It's a shortened time to be around each other. So you want to build that team chemistry. You want to build a culture and make sure that, everybody's in this thing together.
Cliff, are you planning to hold any joint practices with teams either during training camp or the preseason?
We had talked through it. The unique offseason has probably changed that for us a little bit. I don't anticipate that happening for us this preseason, but we've definitely discussed it, so we'll see if it plays out.
Kliff, teaching via Zoom, what have you found? Maybe anything surprised you about that, or are there certain no-nos that you can't do?
Yeah, I haven't had anything that's jumped out like that. I think, like I mentioned before, just being able to be efficient, be as entertaining as you can. You got to get breaks, but you want to keep those guys locked in because we all understand, hey, at the end of this, you're not going out of the field. You're not being asked to rep it against anybody. And so you want to make sure that they are locked in when you have them and make the best use of the time.